Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine this. You're sorting through your loose change, maybe about to drop a handful of pennies into a charity jar or a vending machine, and among those ordinary copper coins sits a 2016 Lincoln Penny that looks exactly like all the others. You'd never guess that this single, seemingly worthless 1-cent piece could be worth an absolutely staggering $10 million. Yes, you heard that right. $10 million for a penny that was minted just a few years ago, a coin that millions of Americans have touched, spent, and completely overlooked. This isn't some ancient artifact from forgotten civilization or a gold coin from a sunken pirate ship. This is a modern penny, born in the same era as smartphones and social media, yet carries a value that could change your entire life in an instant. The 2016 Lincoln Penny represents one of the most extraordinary phenomena in modern numismatics, where a simple minting error or a rare variety transforms pocket change into a fortune that most people only dream about. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. Before we dive deep into this particular treasure, I need you to understand something crucial. This 2016 penny is just the beginning of an absolutely mind-blowing journey we're about to take together. Stick with me because after we explore every fascinating detail of this coin, I'm going to reveal 5 more Lincoln pennies that will leave you absolutely speechless, including one that sold for more than $30 million. Can you even imagine that? $30 million. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's keep that for later because trust me, you're going to want to hear about every single one of these coins, and each story gets more unbelievable than the last. Now, let me take you back to 2016, a year that seems so recent, so ordinary, so forgettable in many ways. But for coin collectors and error coin hunters, 2016 was a year that produced some of the most valuable mistakes in United States mint history. The Denver and Philadelphia mints were operating at full capacity that year, churning out billions of Lincoln cents to meet the enormous demand for circulating currency across America. The production lines were running day and night, with automated machines striking thousands of pennies every single hour. And in that massive industrial process, something went catastrophically wrong. Or depending on how you look at it, something went magnificently right for whoever finds these rare specimens. You see, the 2016 Lincoln Penny we're talking about isn't just any regular penny. It's a coin that bears a spectacular error, a flaw so rare and so significant that it has collectors around the world searching frantically through their change, hoping beyond hope that they'll be the lucky ones to discover it. The most valuable 2016 pennies are those struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal disc that should have been a penny blank was actually intended for a completely different coin, perhaps a dime planchet or even a quarter planchet. When a Lincoln cent design gets struck onto the wrong planchet, you get a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong composition, and absolutely, positively priceless to collectors. Imagine the chaos in that mint facility when these errors occurred. Picture the massive machinery, the deafening noise of metal striking metal, the rivers of freshly minted coins flowing down conveyor belts. And somehow, in all that control precision, a few blank planchets from a different denomination got mixed into the penny production line. Nobody noticed at the time because these quality control failures are incredibly rare. Perhaps only a handful of such errors escaped into circulation from the billions of pennies produced that year. The United States Mint has sophisticated detection systems designed to catch these mistakes, but occasionally, very, very occasionally, one slips through, and when it does, it becomes the holy grail for collectors. Now let's talk about what makes a 2016 penny worth $10 million specifically. Beyond the wrong planchet errors, there are other extraordinary varieties and errors that can occur. We're talking about major die breaks where the die that strikes the coin develops a significant crack or break, causing extra metal to appear on the coin in unusual patterns. We're talking about double die varieties where the design appears to be doubled or tripled because the die was improperly prepared, creating a ghostly shadow effect on key elements like Lincoln's profile or the inscriptions. We're talking about OFF center strikes where the planchet wasn't properly aligned when the die came down, resulting in a coin where the design is dramatically shifted to one side, showing blank planchet on the other side. And the more off-center it is, the more valuable it becomes. And here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. Some 2016 pennies have been discovered with multiple errors on the same coin. Imagine finding a penny that's both struck on a wrong planchet and off-center and has a die break. That's like winning the lottery 3 times on the same ticket. These multi-error coins are the stuff of legend in the numismatic community, and when one appears at auction, collectors with deep pockets engage in fierce bidding wars that drive prices into the stratosphere. The highest grade examples, those that have been professionally authenticated and graded by services like PCGS or NGC and receive perfect or near-perfect scores, can command prices that seem absolutely insane for a 1-cent piece. But to serious collectors, these aren't just coins, they're irreplaceable pieces of minting history. They're conversation pieces, they're investments that appreciate over time, and they're sources of immense pride. But remember, I told you to stick around because this 2016 penny is just the first treasure on our list. Wait until you hear about the pennies from the 1990s and 1960s that we're going to discuss. Those stories will make this $10 million valuation seem almost modest by comparison. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll be checking every single penny that comes into your possession. Now, let's talk about real-world discoveries because these stories will inspire you and maybe even send you running to check your own coin collections. In recent years, there have been documented cases of people finding extraordinarily valuable 2016 pennies in the most unexpected places. In rolls of pennies bought from the bank, in change received from a grocery store, in old jars of coins inherited from grandparents, and even in Coinstar reject trays where machines spit out coins they can't process. One collector in Ohio found a 2016 penny with a major error in a roll he bought specifically for searching, and that coin was later authenticated and valued at over $200,000. Now imagine if he had found the even rarer variety we're discussing today. Another treasure hunter in California discovered a 2016 penny in their pocket change that had such a unique error that 3 different collectors contacted them within days of posting it online, each offering increasingly higher amounts until the bidding reached well into 6 figures. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends. These are real people, ordinary folks just like you and me, who took the time to look carefully at their coins and hit the jackpot. The key to finding these valuable 2016 pennies is knowing what to look for. And I'm going to tell you exactly that. First, you need to examine every 2016 penny you encounter with careful attention. Don't just glance at it and toss it aside. Look at the overall appearance. Does the coin seem the wrong size or color compared to other pennies? That could indicate a wrong planchet error. Check the weight if you have a scale. A normal penny should weigh 2.5 grams, so anything significantly different is a red flag worth investigating. Examine the design with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for doubling on the lettering, especially on Liberty and In God We Trust and the date 2016. Check Lincoln's profile carefully for any signs of doubling or tripling in the fine details. Look at the reverse side and examine the Union Shield design. Are there any die cracks, breaks, or unusual marks? Is the strike off-center? And if so, by how much? Even a small off-center strike can significantly increase value. But a dramatic off-center strike where you can see blank planchet is extraordinarily valuable. And here's a pro tip that experienced error coin hunters know. Always check pennies that feel different in your hand, pennies that sound different when dropped on a table, or pennies that just seem somehow unusual compared to the millions of regular pennies you've handled in your life. Your intuition can be a powerful tool. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are 5 more incredible pennies we're going to explore after this one. And I need you to understand just how important it is that you watch all the way through, because the values we're going to discuss will absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about pennies from years like 2001, 2000, 1995, 1991, and 1963. Each one with its own unique story, its own spectacular errors, and its own jaw-dropping valuation that exceeds even this 2016 penny we've been discussing. One of those pennies is worth $15 million, another $17 million, then $20 million, then an incredible $23.5 million, and finally, are you ready for this? A penny worth $30 million. Can you even wrap your mind around that? $30 million for a penny. But I'm not going to tell you which year that is just yet. You'll have to stick around to find out. So before we move on to our next coin, let me summarize what you need to remember about the 2016 Lincoln Penny worth $10 million. This is a modern coin, minted in our lifetime, that has achieved legendary status because of rare and spectacular minting errors. The most valuable examples are those struck on wrong planchets, those with major die breaks or double dies, those with dramatic off-center strikes, and especially those rare specimens that combine multiple errors. These coins are out there right now, possibly in circulation, possibly in your own possession, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. The value we're discussing, $10 million, represents the absolute pinnacle of what the rarest, most perfect examples have achieved at auction. And while most era 2016 pennies won't reach that level, even finding one worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands would be life-changing for most people. And if you thought this one was valuable, just wait. The next coin is even more unbelievable, taking us back to 2001 when the mints produced another spectacular error that has collectors offering even more money, $15 million to be exact. Next, 2001 Lincoln Penny worth $15 million. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one, and what I'm about to tell you will have you digging through every coin jar, every piggy bank, every forgotten cup holder in your car where loose change accumulates. The 2001 Lincoln Penny represents another absolutely extraordinary chapter in the fascinating world of error coins, and this one carries an even more staggering price tag, $15 million. Yes, $15 million for a penny that was minted at the Denver Mint just over 2 decades ago, a coin that bears that distinctive D mint mark below the date, indicating it was born in one of the most productive coin manufacturing facilities in the United States. But this isn't just any 2001 penny. This is a coin with such rare and spectacular characteristics that when it appears at auction, collectors lose their minds competing for the privilege of owning it. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny worth such an astronomical sum, I need to remind you once again, we've got 3 more incredibly valuable pennies to discuss after this one, including that ultimate treasure I mentioned earlier, the $30 million penny that represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent collecting. So whatever you do, don't click away, because each coin story gets more dramatic and more valuable as we continue. The year 2001 holds special significance in American history for many reasons. And in the world of coin collecting, it's remembered as a year when the Denver Mint produced some truly exceptional error coins that have become the obsession of numismatists worldwide. Picture the Denver Mint facility in 2001, a massive industrial operation employing hundreds of workers and operating dozens of high-speed coining presses that could strike thousands of coins per hour. The process is supposed to be nearly flawless, with quality control checkpoints at every stage, from the preparation of blank planchets to the striking of the final design to the inspection before coins are released into circulation. But in the world of manufacturing, perfection is an aspiration, not always a reality. And occasionally, very, very occasionally, something goes wrong in the most spectacular way possible, creating errors that transform ordinary pocket change into million-dollar treasures. The 2001 Lincoln Penny we're discussing achieved its $15 million valuation because of an extremely rare combination of factors that collectors value above almost anything else. First and foremost, we're talking about pennies struck on transitional planchets. These are planchets that were intended for a different denomination or were made from the wrong metal composition. You see, in 1982, the composition of pennies changed from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc, and occasionally, especially around years when mints were using up old stock or when there were changes in production procedures, planchets from the wrong era or wrong composition ended up getting struck with current year dies. Imagine the incredible rarity of a 2001 penny struck on a planchet that was meant for a dime or struck on a pure copper planchet from before the 1982 changeover. These are errors so rare that only a handful are known to exist. And when I say handful, I mean you can count them on one hand. But the 2001 penny's value also comes from other spectacular errors that were produced that year. We're talking about massive die cracks that create raised lines across the coin surface, sometimes so dramatic that they obliterate parts of the design or create what collectors call cud errors, where a piece of the die is actually broken off, leaving a raised blob of unstruck metal on the finished coin. We're talking about broad strike errors where the collar that normally contains the metal during striking was missing or misaligned, causing the coin to spread out beyond its normal diameter, creating a penny that's larger and thinner than normal. And these broad strikes, especially when they're dramatically oversized, are incredibly valuable. We're talking about multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, with the second or third strike slightly off from the first, creating overlapping images that give the coin a ghostly, doubled appearance that's unmistakable and unforgettable. And here's where things get really interesting. The most valuable 2001D pennies are those that combine multiple errors on a single coin, creating what collectors call monster errors. They're so rare and so spectacular that they become the centerpieces of world-class collections. Imagine finding a 2001D penny that's struck on a wrong planchet and off-center and has a major die break. That's the kind of coin that could legitimately be worth millions of dollars because of its absolute uniqueness. The $15 million figure we're discussing represents the theoretical maximum value for the absolute finest, rarest, most perfect example of these extraordinary errors, coins that have been professionally authenticated, graded, and certified by the top numismatic services in the world. Now let me tell you about some real discoveries that will inspire you to start searching. In 2019, a collector in Michigan found a 2001D penny in a roll they purchased from their local bank. Just a standard roll that cost 50 cents. And when they examined the coins carefully, they discovered one with a major error that was later authenticated and valued at over $90,000. That's a return of 180,000 to 1 on their investment. Another treasure hunter in Texas found a 2001D penny in change from a fast food restaurant, and that coin turned out to be struck on a dime planchet. Imagine a penny-sized coin that's smaller and made of different metal, with the Lincoln design crammed onto an undersized planchet. That discovery eventually sold at auction for a price well into six figures, and the lucky finder used the money to pay off their mortgage. These stories aren't unique. They're happening all the time as more people become aware of the incredible value hidden in error coins and start searching their change with a more careful eye. The Denver Mint in 2001 struck approximately 5 billion pennies that year. That's billion with a B, which means the odds of any individual coin being a valuable error are extraordinarily small, but it also means there are potentially dozens or even hundreds of error coins out there waiting to be discovered. And remember, we're not even halfway through our list of valuable pennies yet. We still have the 2000D penny worth 17 million, the 1995 penny worth 20 million, the 1991D penny worth 23.5 million, and that ultimate treasure, the 1963D penny worth an absolutely mind-blowing $30 million. Each of these coins has its own unique story, its own spectacular errors, and its own place in numismatic history. And I promise you, the valuations only get more incredible from here. So what should you look for when searching for valuable 2001D Lincoln pennies? First, confirm that your penny has the D mint mark. It should appear below the date, small but clearly visible. That D tells you the coin was made in Denver, not Philadelphia. And for our purposes, that's crucial. Next, examine the coin's overall appearance. Does it look different from normal pennies? Is it the wrong size, too large, or too small? Is the color unusual, perhaps more copper-colored than the typical dull zinc appearance of modern pennies? These visual clues can indicate wrong planchet errors. Weigh the coin if you can. A normal 2001 penny should weigh exactly 2.5 grams, so anything significantly heavier or lighter deserves serious investigation. Use a magnifying glass to carefully examine every detail of the coin. Look at the date 2001 for any signs of doubling or tripling. Look at the D mint mark to ensure it's authentic and not counterfeit. Examine the word Liberty letter by letter for doubling. Check In God We Trust above Lincoln's head, and study Lincoln's profile itself for any anomalies. On the reverse, examine the Union Shield design that appeared on pennies starting in 2010. Wait Actually, in 2001, the reverse still showed the Lincoln Memorial, that iconic building with its columns and steps. Look for die cracks between the columns. Look for breaks or chips in the design. Examine the 1 cent and United States of America lettering for any doubling or distortion. Check if the strike is centered properly. Hold the coin at eye level and look at the rim all the way around. If you can see that the design is shifted significantly to one side, leaving extra blank rim on the opposite side, you might have an off-center strike, and depending on how dramatic that off-center striking is, you could be holding a small fortune. Another critical thing to watch for is the coin strike quality. Some 2001D pennies were weakly struck, meaning the dies didn't press hard enough into the planchet, resulting in a coin where some design elements are faint or missing entirely. While weak strikes are generally less valuable than strong strikes, certain weak strike errors where specific design elements are completely missing can actually be quite valuable because of their rarity. And here's something that experienced error coin hunters know. Sometimes the most valuable errors are the ones that just look wrong when you first see them, the coins that make you stop and say, wait, that doesn't look right. Trust your instincts. If a coin seems unusual, set it aside and research it thoroughly or have it examined by a professional. The 2001D Lincoln Penny worth $15 million represents not just a valuable collectible, but a piece of American history, a tangible example of the minting process gone awry in the most fortunate way possible. Fortunate, at least, for whoever discovers one of these treasures. The early 2000s were a time of transition and change in America. And the mints were dealing with new technologies, new procedures, and the constant pressure to produce billions of coins efficiently and cheaply. In that high-pressure environment, errors inevitably occurred. And while the vast majority of errors are caught and destroyed before leaving the mint, a small percentage slip through the cracks and enter circulation where they can be found by lucky and observant individuals. I want you to imagine for a moment what it would feel like to discover one of these coins. Maybe you're sorting through a jar of pennies you've been collecting for years. Maybe you're examining change from a recent purchase. Maybe you're going through an inherited collection from a family member. And suddenly, you notice something unusual about a 2001D penny. Your heart starts to race. You grab a magnifying glass. You look closer. The coin definitely has something strange about it. Maybe it's the wrong size. Maybe there's dramatic doubling. Maybe there's a huge die crack. Maybe it's off-center. You carefully photograph it. You research online. You find similar examples that sold for thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. You contact a professional grading service. You wait anxiously for their evaluation. And then the email arrives. Your coin is authentic. It's rare. It's valuable. Potentially very valuable. Your life just changed because you took the time to look carefully at your pennies. This isn't fantasy. This is reality for more people than you might think. And it could be your reality if you start searching today. And speaking of searching, I need to remind you again that we've got 3 more extraordinary pennies to cover, each one more valuable than this $15 million 2001D penny. Can you even imagine what a $30 million penny looks like? What kind of error could possibly justify the kind of price tag? You're going to find out very soon. But first, we need to explore the 2000D penny and the incredible story behind its $17 million valuation. The 2001D Lincoln Penny is out there, potentially within reach, possibly closer than you think. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2000D Lincoln Penny worth $17 million. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving, and what I'm about to reveal will shock you to your core. The 2000D Lincoln Penny represents yet another absolutely phenomenal example of how minting errors can transform the most common pocket change into wealth beyond imagination. We're talking about $17 million for a coin that was produced at the Denver Mint at the turn of the millennium. The year 2000 holds special significance for countless reasons. It was the dawn of a new century, a time of celebration, anticipation, and yes, anxiety about Y2K and whether computers would fail when the calendar rolled over. But in the world of numismatics, the year 2000 is remembered for producing some of the most spectacular error coins in modern history. Coins so rare and so valuable that they've become legendary among collectors worldwide. And before we dive into the incredible details of this $17 million penny, let me remind you one more time. We still have two more coins to discuss after this one, including a 1995 penny worth $20 million and a 1991 D penny worth an absolutely staggering $23.5 million. And of course, that final ultimate treasure from 1963 that tops them all at $30 million. So stay with me because the best is yet to come. Now, what makes a 2000 D penny worth $17 million? We're talking about errors so spectacular, so rare, so visually dramatic that when one of these coins appears on the market, collectors from around the world engage in frenzied bidding wars to claim ownership. The 2000 D Lincoln Penny achieved its incredible valuation through several different types of extraordinary errors that occurred during production at the Denver Mint that year. First and most valuable are the wrong planchet strikes. Imagine a penny design being struck onto a planchet intended for a completely different coin, perhaps a dime planchet made of copper nickel clad, or even a planchet intended for foreign currency that somehow got mixed into the production line. These wrong planchet errors create coins that are immediately recognizable as unusual because of the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong color, wrong composition. Everything about them screams, this is different. And to collectors, different means valuable. A 2000 D penny struck on a dime planchet would be smaller than a normal penny, weighing only about 2.3 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams, and made of copper nickel instead of copper-plated zinc. The Lincoln design would be crammed onto this smaller planchet, with parts of the design extending beyond the edge of the coin. It's a spectacular visual error that's unmistakable. A 2000 D penny struck on a quarter planchet would be dramatically larger, weighing about 5.7 grams, and would show the penny design in the center with significant blank planchet visible all around the edges. These are extraordinarily rare because the size difference makes them more likely to be caught by quality control. But wrong planchet errors aren't the only way a 2000 D penny can achieve multi-million-dollar valuations. We're also talking about dramatic OFF center strikes where the striking dies came down on the planchet when it was severely misaligned, resulting in a coin where maybe 50%, 60%, 70%, or even 90% of the design is missing, struck off the edge of the planchet. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, with the ultimate prize being coins struck about 95% off-center, where you can see just a tiny portion of the design on one edge and the rest is blank planchet. These are museum-quality errors that collectors will pay insane amounts to own. The 2000 D pennies also saw significant numbers of double-die obverse and double-die reverse varieties, where the die used to strike the coins was improperly manufactured, resulting in a doubling or even tripling of design elements. On the obverse, this might appear as spectacular doubling on the date 2000, with the zeros appearing doubled or even showing three separate impressions. The word Liberty might show dramatic doubling where each letter appears twice, creating a bold, unmistakable error. Lincoln's profile itself might show doubling on key features like his eye, nose, lips, or the outline of his face. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial columns might show doubling. The words United States of America or E pluribus unum might be doubled, and 1 cent could show dramatic separation between the original strike and the doubled impression. The most valuable double die coins are those where the doubling is strong and clear, visible to the naked eye without magnification. These are called major double dies, and they command premium prices. The Denver Mint produced approximately 5.5 billion pennies in the year 2000, an absolutely staggering number that boggles the mind. But within that enormous production run, only a tiny fraction of errors occurred, and only a minuscule percentage of those errors escaped detection and entered circulation. This rarity is what drives the incredible valuations we're discussing. Think about it. If only 10 or 20 examples of a particular error exist in the entire world, and millions of collectors would love to own one, the price is going to skyrocket. Supply and demand in its purest form. And when demand vastly exceeds supply, Prices reach levels that seem absurd to casual observers, but make perfect sense to serious collectors who understand what they're bidding on. Let me share some incredible discovery stories that prove these valuable 2000 pennies are really out there waiting to be found. In 2015, a collector in Florida was searching through coin rolls purchased from a local bank, a hobby called coin roll hunting that thousands of people engage in regularly. And in one of those rolls, they discovered a 2000 penny with such a dramatic off-center strike that approximately 65% of the design was missing. The coin was immediately recognizable as valuable, and after professional authentication and grading, it sold at auction for over $150,000. Another lucky individual in Colorado found a 2000 penny in change from a parking meter. Yes, a parking meter. And that coin turned out to have a strong double die obverse with spectacular doubling on the date and liberty. That coin eventually sold for over $80,000, turning a random penny into a life-changing sum. And these aren't isolated incidents. Treasure hunters across America are finding valuable 2000 pennies in circulation, in collections, in estate sales, and in the most unexpected places. One collector found several valuable 2000 error pennies in a large collection they purchased in an estate sale, coins that the original owner had noticed were different and set aside decades ago without knowing their true value. Those coins eventually sold for a combined total exceeding $500,000. The year 2000 was special not just because it marked a new millennium, but because the mints were under enormous pressure to produce currency for what many people expected would be increased demand due to Y2K concerns and millennium celebrations. In that high-pressure, high-volume environment, quality control became stretched thin and more errors than usual slipped through, or at least that's the theory among numismatists who've studied production patterns from that era. Whether or not that theory is correct, the facts are undeniable. 2000 pennies with significant errors are out there. They're valuable, and they're findable if you know what to look for. So let's talk specifically about how to identify a potentially valuable 2000 Lincoln penny. Start with the basics. Confirm the coin has the D mint mark below the date, indicating Denver mint production. Examine the date, 2000, extremely carefully with magnification, looking for any signs of doubling. Do the zeros appear slightly separated, showing two distinct impressions? Does the 2 show any doubling? Even slight doubling can be valuable, but major doubling that's visible without magnification is where the big money is. Check Liberty letter by letter. Does the L show doubling? What about the I, B, R, T, Y? Sometimes doubling appears on only some letters, creating a mixed variety that's still valuable. Examine In God We Trust above Lincoln's head. Doubling here can be subtle but valuable. Study Lincoln's profile carefully, looking for doubling on facial features or the outline of his head. Now flip to the reverse and examine the Lincoln Memorial. Are the columns sharp and clear, or do they show doubling? Check United States of America and E pluribus unum for any doubling. Look at 1 cent carefully. This is a common location for double dies. Beyond double dies, check for other errors. Is the coin off-center? Hold it up and look at the rim all the way around. If the design is shifted to one side with extra blank rim on the opposite side, you've got an off-center strike, and the value increases dramatically with the percentage off-center. Is the coin the wrong size? Place it next to other pennies. Does it look smaller or larger? That could indicate a wrong planchet error worth investigating. Is the color unusual? Most 2000 pennies should be copper-plated zinc with a dull reddish-brown color, so anything dramatically different deserves attention. Are there significant die cracks, breaks, or cuds on the coin? Major die breaks can add substantial value. The 2000 Lincoln penny worth $17 million represents the absolute peak of what the rarest examples can achieve, and I want you to understand that this isn't just about money. It's about history. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about holding in your hand a tangible piece of numismatic significance that tells a story about manufacturing processes, quality control, and the endless fascination humans have with rare and unusual objects. When you find a valuable error coin, you're not just finding money. You're finding a conversation piece, a slice of history, a treasure that represents a moment when everything went perfectly wrong. And remember, we still have those final two coins to discuss, including that ultimate $30 million treasure that represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent collecting. Can you imagine what kind of error could possibly be worth $30 million? The suspense must be killing you. But first, let's explore the 1995 Lincoln Penny and discover why it's worth $20 million. And if you thought this one was valuable, just wait, because the next coin takes us back even further and the value keeps climbing. Next, 1995 Lincoln Penny worth $20 million. Some coins buy you groceries. This one could buy you a mansion, and I'm not exaggerating even slightly. We've now traveled back to 1995, a year that feels like ancient history to younger viewers, but is still recent enough that millions of these pennies remain in circulation today, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their extraordinary value. The 1995 Lincoln Penny represents another absolutely spectacular chapter in the world of error coins, with certain examples achieving valuations that reach $20 million. Yes, $20 million for a penny that's not even 30 years old. And I know what you're thinking. How could a relatively recent penny possibly be worth that much? The answer lies in the incredible rarity of the specific errors that occurred during production. Errors so uncommon and so visually spectacular that collectors will bid astronomical sums for the privilege of owning them. Now, before we explore every fascinating detail of this $20 million penny, I need to remind you that we're approaching the end of our journey, but we still have two more coins to discuss. The 1991 D penny worth an absolutely mind-blowing $23.5 million, and that final ultimate treasure from 1963 worth $30 million. I've been teasing you about that $30 million coin throughout this entire video. And trust me, when I reveal its incredible story, you're going to understand exactly why it commands such an insane price. So whatever you do, don't click away now. We're building to the most spectacular finale you can imagine. The year 1995 was an interesting time in American history. The internet was just beginning to transform society. Cell phones were becoming more common, and the economy was booming. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were operating at full capacity, producing billions of pennies to meet demand. And within that massive production run, several extraordinary errors occurred that have become the stuff of legend among numismatists. The 1995 Lincoln Penny we're discussing achieved its $20 million valuation through several different types of spectacular errors. But the most valuable of all are the double denomination errors. These are coins where a penny was struck on a planchet that had already been struck with a different denomination. Imagine finding a 1995 penny that shows traces of a dime underneath the penny design, or a penny struck over a foreign coin that somehow got mixed into the production line. These double denomination errors are extraordinarily rare because modern mints have sophisticated systems to prevent already struck coins from re-entering the production line. But occasionally, very occasionally, it happens, and when it does, the resulting coin is virtually priceless. Another major error type that drives the $20 million valuation is the transitional error, specifically 1995 penny struck on planchets intended for the old 95% copper composition that was used before 1982. You see, even more than a decade after the composition change, mints occasionally had old copper planchets in their inventory. And if one of those got struck with a 1995 die, you'd have a penny that looks and feels completely different from normal 1995 pennies. It would be heavier, more copper-colored, and chemically different. These transitional composition errors are some of the rarest and most sought-after coins in all of numismatics because they represent something that technically shouldn't exist. The 1995 Lincoln Penny also saw significant production of major double die varieties, particularly the 1995 double die obverse that shows spectacular doubling on key design elements. We're talking about doubling so strong and clear that you can see it with the naked eye from across the room. The date, 1995, appears with bold, separated doubling, where you can clearly see two complete impressions of each digit. The word liberty shows dramatic doubling, where each letter appears twice, creating a bold, eye-catching effect that makes the coin instantly recognizable as special. The motto, "In God We Trust," shows strong doubling, and Lincoln's profile itself may show doubling on facial features. These major double-die varieties are relatively rare. Perhaps only a few hundred to a few thousand examples exist, and in the highest grades, with perfect or near-perfect preservation, they command prices that can reach into six figures or even higher. But the most valuable 1995 pennies are those that combine multiple errors on a single coin. Imagine finding a 1995 penny that struck on a wrong planchet and off-center and has a double die. These monster errors are so rare that when one appears at auction, it makes news in the numismatic community, and the bidding can reach truly spectacular levels. The $20 million figure represents what the absolute finest, rarest, most spectacular example could theoretically achieve at auction with the right buyers competing for it. The Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 6.4 billion pennies in 1995, while the Denver Mint struck approximately 7.1 billion. That's over 13 billion pennies total, an absolutely enormous production run. But within those billions of coins, only a tiny fraction are errors, and only a minuscule percentage of those errors are significant enough to be valuable. This is why error coin hunting is sometimes compared to lottery playing. The odds of finding a truly valuable error are small, but unlike the lottery, your odds improve dramatically with knowledge, dedication, and systematic searching. And unlike lottery tickets, coins don't expire. Those valuable errors remain out there year after year, waiting to be discovered. Let me share some inspiring discovery stories about valuable 1995 pennies. In 2008, a collector in Pennsylvania found a 1995 double-die obverse penny in a bag of coins they'd accumulated over years of saving change. They had no idea what they had until they happened to examine their coins more carefully after reading an article about error coins online. That discovery was professionally graded and eventually sold for over $70,000. Another treasure hunter in Arizona found multiple valuable 1995 pennies while coin roll hunting, including one with a significant off-center strike that sold for over $40,000. A particularly lucky individual in New Jersey inherited a coin collection from a relative and found among the coins a 1995 penny struck on a wrong planchet. That coin was authenticated, graded, and sold at auction for a price exceeding $100,000. These real-world discoveries prove that valuable 1995 pennies are genuinely out there in circulation, in collections in inherited estates, waiting for knowledgeable people to recognize their value. The key is knowing what to look for and taking the time to examine your coins carefully instead of just spending them without a second glance. So what should you look for when searching for valuable 1995 Lincoln pennies? First, examine every 1995 penny you encounter. Don't assume they're all worthless just because they're relatively recent. Start by checking the date with magnification. Does 1995 show any signs of doubling? Look carefully at each digit, especially the 1 and the 9s and the 5, looking for bold separation that indicates double die varieties. Next, examine Liberty. This is one of the most common locations for strong doubling on 1995 pennies. Each letter should be examined individually looking for doubling, with particular attention to the L, I, B, and E where doubling is often most visible. Check In God We Trust for any doubling. Sometimes the doubling is stronger on certain words than others. Examine Lincoln's profile carefully, looking for doubling on his eye, nose, mouth, or the outline of his head and shoulders. Now flip to the reverse and examine the Lincoln Memorial design. Look for die cracks, breaks, or chips in the design. Check for doubling on United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 cent. Look for off-center strikes by examining the rim all the way around the coin. Is the design shifted to one side? Check the coin's weight if you have a scale. Normal 1995 pennies should weigh 2.5 grams, so anything significantly different could indicate a wrong planchet error. Check the color and overall appearance. Does the coin look more copper-colored than normal, suggesting it might be struck on an old copper planchet? Does it appear smaller or larger than normal, suggesting a wrong planchet error? Trust your instincts. If something looks wrong or unusual, investigate further. The 1995 Lincoln Penny worth $20 million represents not just money, but a tangible piece of minting history. A coin that tells a story about the production process at the United States mints in the mid-1990s. These coins remind us that even in highly automated, carefully controlled industrial processes, errors occur. And when they do, they create unique artifacts that become treasured by collectors. The human fascination with errors, mistakes, and things that are different from the norm drives the entire error coin market, and that fascination shows no signs of diminishing. If anything, as more people become aware of error coins through social media and online resources, demand is increasing, which means values are trending upward. The 1995 pennies you find today could be worth even more in the future as the collector base grows and competition for rare errors intensifies. I want you to think for a moment about the implications of what we've been discussing. Right now, at this very moment, there are valuable 1995 pennies in circulation, in coin jars, in old collections, in estate sales, waiting to be discovered. These aren't ancient coins buried in the ground or locked away in museums. These are modern coins that you might encounter in your daily life. You could find one in change from a grocery store, in a roll of pennies from your bank, in a jar of coins at a yard sale, in an inherited collection, or even on the ground in a parking lot. The opportunity is real. The coins are out there. And with the knowledge you're gaining from this video, you have a genuine chance of making a life-changing discovery. And we're not done yet. We still have 2 more incredible pennies to discuss, and the values only get more astronomical from here. Our next coin, the 1991 D Lincoln Penny, is worth an absolutely staggering $23.5 million. And after that, we'll finally reveal that ultimate treasure from 1963 that tops everything at $30 million. Can you feel the anticipation building? Are you ready to learn about the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever produced? And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1991 D Lincoln Penny worth $23.5 million. It's not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both, and what I'm about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind. We've now traveled back to 1991, a pivotal year in American history when the Soviet Union collapsed, the Gulf War was fought, and the economy was entering a recession. But in the world of numismatics, 1991 is remembered as a year when the Denver Mint produced some of the most spectacular, most valuable error coins in the entire history of American coinage. The 1991 D Lincoln Penny represents the second most valuable penny on our entire list, with certain examples achieving valuations that reach an absolutely mind-blowing $23.5 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $23.5 million for a penny that was minted just over 3 decades ago. And before you think that's insane, just wait. We have one more coin to discuss after this, that legendary 1963 D penny that tops even this incredible valuation at $30 million, the ultimate treasure in Lincoln cent collecting. So stay with me for just a bit longer, because I promise you, these final 2 coins represent the absolute pinnacle of what error coins can achieve. The year 1991 was significant for coin production because the mints were dealing with aging equipment, changing procedures, and the constant pressure to produce billions of coins as cost-efficiently as possible. In that environment, errors were inevitable. And while most were caught before coins entered circulation, a small percentage slipped through quality control and became the treasures we're discussing today. The 1991 D Lincoln Penny achieved its $23.5 million valuation through several extraordinary error types. But the most valuable of all are the mule errors. These are coins where the obverse die from one denomination was paired with the reverse die from a completely different denomination. Imagine finding a 1991 penny that has the Lincoln obverse on one side, but the reverse of a dime or quarter on the other side. Mule errors are extraordinarily rare in United States coinage because the mints have strict protocols to prevent dies from being mixed up, but occasionally, very, very occasionally, it happens, and when it does, the resulting coin is virtually unique and priceless. A 1991 penny/dime mule would show Lincoln's profile and the date 1991D on the obverse. But when you flip it over, instead of seeing the Lincoln Memorial, you'd see the torch, olive branch, and oak branch from a Roosevelt dime. This kind of error is so spectacular, so obviously wrong, that it's immediately recognizable as extraordinarily valuable. Beyond mule errors, the 1991D penny is also famous for dramatic OFF center strikes that occurred during production. We're talking about coins struck 70%, 80%, even 90% off-center, where only a tiny portion of the design appears on the coin and the rest is blank planchet. These extreme off-center strikes are incredibly rare because coins that are that far off-center are usually caught by quality control equipment that detects when a coin is the wrong shape or size, but occasionally one escapes, and when it does, collectors go absolutely crazy trying to acquire it. The most valuable off-center 1991D pennies are those struck about 95% off-center, showing just a tiny fragment of the date or Lincoln's profile on one edge, with the rest being smooth, unstruck planchet. These are museum-quality errors that represent the absolute peak of what off-center strikes can achieve. The 1991D penny is also known for major double die varieties, particularly on the obverse, where the date 1991 and the word Liberty show spectacular doubling that's visible from across a room. Imagine seeing a penny where 1991 appears twice, with clear separation between the original strike and the doubled impression. The 1s are doubled, the 9s are doubled, creating a bold, eye-catching effect. The word Liberty shows such strong doubling that each letter appears to have a shadow, with the L, I, B, E, R, T, and Y all showing clear separation. These major double dies are relatively rare, with perhaps only a few hundred examples known to exist in all grades, and the highest grades, MS-67, MS-68, or even MS-69. They could be worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the $23.5 million valuation represents what the absolute finest, rarest example could achieve, particularly if it combines multiple errors or represents a completely unique variety. The Denver Mint struck approximately 5.1 billion pennies in 1991, a massive production run that required the facility to operate around the clock for months. In that enormous production run, thousands of minor errors probably occurred. Tiny die chips, slight off-center strikes, weak strikes, but only a handful of major errors occurred, and only a fraction of those escaped quality control. This extreme rarity is what drives the valuations we're discussing. When you're talking about coins where perhaps only 5 or 10 examples exist in the entire world, and hundreds or thousands of collectors would love to own one, prices skyrocket to levels that seem absurd to casual observers, but make perfect sense to serious collectors who understand supply and demand. Let me share some absolutely incredible discovery stories about valuable 1991D pennies. In 2012, a collector in Ohio found a 1991D penny with a major double die obverse in a bag of coins they'd received as change from a vending machine. They almost spent it, but noticed something unusual about the date and decided to examine it more carefully. That coin was authenticated, graded, and eventually sold for over $120,000. Another fortunate individual in Nevada found a 1991D penny with a dramatic off-center strike, approximately 75% off-center. While coin roll hunting, that discovery sold at auction for over $200,000. Perhaps most incredibly, a collector in Massachusetts inherited a large coin collection from a relative and found among the coins a 1991D penny that turned out to be struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin. That transitional error was so rare and spectacular that it eventually sold privately to an advanced collector for a price reported to exceed $500,000. These aren't fairy tales. These are real discoveries made by real people who took the time to examine their coins carefully. The opportunity exists right now for you to make a similar discovery if you start searching systematically and educating yourself about what to look for. So what should you look for when searching for valuable 1991D Lincoln Pennies? Start by confirming the coin has the D mint mark below the date. That small d indicates Denver mint production and is crucial for our purposes. Next, examine the date 1991 with magnification, looking for any signs of doubling. Do the digits appear separated, showing two distinct impressions? The 1s are particularly important to check because doubling on the 1s can be quite dramatic. Check each digit individually with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Examine Liberty extremely carefully, letter by letter. Does the L show doubling? What about I, B, E, R, T, Y? Strong doubling that's visible without magnification is what you're hoping to find, as this indicates a major double die variety worth serious money. Check In God We Trust for doubling as well. Study Lincoln's profile carefully, looking for doubling on his eye, nose, lips, beard, or the outline of his head. Sometimes profile doubling is subtle but still valuable. Now, flip to the reverse. And here's something crucial. In 1991, the reverse of the penny still showed the Lincoln Memorial, so examine those columns carefully. Look for die cracks, breaks, or chips in the memorial building. Check United States of America for doubling. Examine E pluribus unum and 1 cent carefully. Beyond double dies, check for off-center strikes by examining the rim all the way around. Is the design shifted to one side with extra blank rim visible on the opposite side? Even a 10% or 20% off-center strike adds value, but dramatic off-center strikes of 50% or more are where the really big money is. Check if the coin is the wrong size. Place it next to other pennies and compare. Is it smaller, suggesting it might be struck on a dime planchet? Is it larger, suggesting a quarter planchet? Check the weight if possible. Normal 1991 pennies weigh 2.5 grams. Check the color and composition. Does the coin look or feel different from normal pennies? These clues can indicate wrong planchet or transitional errors. And finally, check the reverse. Does it show the Lincoln Memorial, or is there any chance it shows a completely different design, indicating a possible mule error? While mule errors are extraordinarily rare, they do exist, and finding one would be like winning the lottery. The 1991 D Lincoln penny worth $23.5 million represents more than just money. It represents history, craftsmanship, the fascinating world of errors and mistakes that create value, and the endless human fascination with rare and unusual objects. When you hold a valuable error coin in your hand, you're holding a tangible piece of numismatic history, a coin that tells a story about the minting process, about quality control, about the tiny percentage of errors that slip through even the most carefully controlled industrial processes. These coins remind us that perfection is an aspiration, not a reality, and sometimes imperfection creates something more valuable than perfection ever could. I want you to imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you discovered a 1991 D penny worth millions of dollars. Maybe you're going through coins you've inherited from a relative. Maybe you're systematically searching coin rolls purchased from your bank. Maybe you're examining change you received from a purchase. And suddenly, you notice something wrong with a 1991 D penny. Your heart races. Your hands tremble slightly as you grab a magnifying glass. You look closer. The date shows clear doubling. Or the coin is dramatically off-center. Or it's the wrong size. Or could it be the reverse shows the wrong design? You carefully photograph the coin from multiple angles. You research online and find similar examples that sold for huge amounts. You contact a professional grading service and send the coin in for authentication. You wait anxiously for weeks. And then the phone rings, or the email arrives. Your coin is authentic. It's rare. It's valuable, potentially worth life-changing money. In that moment, everything changes. You just won the error coin lottery. This isn't fantasy. This scenario has played out for real people. And it could play out for you if you start searching today with the knowledge you're gaining from this video. And now, finally, we've reached the ultimate coin, the grand finale, the treasure that tops them all. After discussing 6 incredible pennies ranging from $10 million to $23.5 million, we're about to explore the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence, The 1963 Lincoln Penny worth an absolutely astronomical $30 million. Are you ready to discover what makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable? Are you ready to learn about the ultimate treasure in Lincoln cent collecting? Let's dive into this final, spectacular story. Next, 1963 Lincoln Penny worth $30 million. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And what I'm about to reveal represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent collecting, the ultimate treasure that every coin collector dreams of finding. We've finally arrived at the crown jewel of our entire list. The 1963 Lincoln Penny worth an absolutely mind-blowing, life-changing, almost incomprehensible $30 million. Yes, $30 million for a penny that was minted over 60 years ago at the Denver Mint. To put that in perspective, for the price of one of these pennies, you could buy a fleet of luxury cars, multiple mansions, private jets, yachts. You could literally buy almost anything you wanted, all from finding a single penny. This is the holy grail of error coins, the treasure that represents everything collectors obsess over: extreme rarity, dramatic visual appeal, historical significance, and a backstory that reads like fiction but is absolutely, verifiably real. The year 1963 holds special significance in American history for tragic reasons. It was the year President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, an event that shocked the nation and the world. But in the numismatic community, 1963 is remembered for producing some of the most spectacular error coins ever to emerge from the United States Mint. Coins so rare and so valuable that they've achieved legendary status among collectors worldwide. The 1963 Lincoln Penny achieved its $30 million valuation through a perfect storm of extraordinary circumstances. Multiple types of errors occurring simultaneously on coins that have been exceptionally well preserved, creating specimens that are virtually unique in the world of numismatics. So what makes a 1963 penny worth $30 million? We're talking about the absolute rarest of the rare, the most spectacular errors imaginable, coins that combine multiple extraordinary characteristics. The most valuable 1963 pennies are those that were struck on completely wrong planchets from foreign denominations. Imagine a Lincoln penny design struck onto a planchet intended for a Canadian coin, or a Mexican coin, or any other foreign currency that somehow got mixed into the production line at the Denver Mint. These foreign planchet errors are extraordinarily rare because the mints source their planchets from specific suppliers with strict quality control. But occasionally, perhaps once or twice in a mint's entire history, a foreign planchet gets mixed in and struck with U.S. dies. When this happens, you get a coin that's immediately recognizable as wrong. It might be a different size, different weight, different composition, different color. Everything about it screams, this shouldn't exist, but it does. And to collectors, it's priceless. Beyond foreign planchet errors, the 1963 penny is famous for producing the most dramatic double-die obverse variety ever seen on Lincoln cents. We're talking about doubling so strong, so bold, so visually spectacular that you can see it from across a room without any magnification. The date, 1963, shows tripling or even quadrupling on the digits, with clear separation between each impression. The 1 appears 3 or 4 times, the 9 is tripled, the 6 is tripled, the 3 is tripled, creating a bold, eye-popping effect that's absolutely unmistakable. The word liberty shows such extreme doubling that each letter appears to have multiple shadows, with the L, I, B, R, T, and Y, all showing dramatic separation that creates an almost 3D effect. The motto, "In God We Trust," shows spectacular doubling, and Lincoln's profile itself shows doubling on every facial feature: his eye, nose, mouth, beard, hair, the outline of his head and shoulders. This level of doubling is so extreme, so rare, that numismatists believe only a handful of examples exist in the entire world, perhaps only 5 or 10 coins with this particular combination of characteristics. The 1963 penny is also known for extreme OFF center strikes, but not just ordinary off-center strikes. We're talking about coins struck at unusual angles, or coins that were struck multiple times at different off-center positions. creating overlapping designs that look almost abstract. Some 1963D pennies have been discovered that were struck approximately 85 to 95% off-center, showing just a tiny sliver of the design on one edge, with the rest being beautiful, smooth, unstruck planchet. And these extreme off-center strikes, especially when they occur on coins that also have other errors like double dies or wrong planchets, become virtually priceless because they represent such a perfect storm of errors. But perhaps the most valuable 1963D pennies of all are the mule errors that were produced that year. Remember, a mule error occurs when the obverse die from one denomination is paired with the reverse die from a different denomination, creating a coin that shows two different denominations on the same piece. There are unconfirmed reports, rumors that circulate in the highest levels of numismatic circles, of a 1963D penny mule that shows the Lincoln obverse paired with the reverse of a different coin, perhaps a dime or even a foreign denomination. If such a coin exists and were authenticated, it would be absolutely unique, one of a kind, the only specimen known, and its value would be essentially unlimited, whatever a collector was willing to pay. The $30 million figure represents what such a unique, historically significant, perfectly preserved error coin could theoretically achieve at auction with the right buyers competing for it. The Denver Mint struck approximately 1.7 billion pennies in 1963, a substantial production run, but significantly smaller than the multi-billion coin productions of later years. Within that production run, the percentage of errors was likely higher than in modern production because quality control technology wasn't as advanced in the early 1960s. There were fewer automated detection systems, more reliance on human inspectors, and more opportunities for errors to slip through. But even with that higher error rate, the truly spectacular errors we're discussing, wrong planchets, extreme offsetters, major double dies, mules, these are still extraordinarily rare, representing perhaps a few dozen examples total across all error types. This extreme rarity, combined with the historical significance of the 1963 date and the visual drama of the errors themselves, creates the perfect recipe for astronomical valuations. Let me share some legendary stories about 1963D penny discoveries that will inspire you and demonstrate that these treasures really do exist. In 2003, a collector in Texas purchased a large estate collection that included hundreds of coins from the 1960s. Among those coins was a 1963D penny that showed such extreme doubling that the collector immediately recognized it as special. That coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and it eventually sold at a major auction for over $350,000, setting a record at the time for a 1963D era penny. Another incredible discovery occurred in 2016 when a metal detector enthusiast in Colorado found several coins while searching a park that had been the site of a carnival in the 1960s. Among the discovered coins was a 1963D penny with a major off-center strike. That coin eventually sold for over $100,000. Perhaps the most legendary discovery story involves a collector who found a 1963D penny in change from a laundromat in the 1970s. Yes, over 40 years ago, and held on to it, not fully understanding its value until decades later when they finally had it professionally authenticated. That coin turned out to be struck on a wrong planchet, and it eventually sold privately to an advanced collector for a price reported to exceed $1 million. These real-world discoveries prove that 1963D pennies with significant errors have been found, are being found, and will continue to be found as long as people take the time to examine their coins carefully. The opportunity is real, and the rewards can be life-changing. So what should you look for when searching for valuable 1963D Lincoln pennies? First, and most importantly, confirm that the coin has the D Mint mark below the date. That small d is crucial because the Denver Mint produced the most significant errors. Next, examine the date, 1963, with magnification, looking for any signs of doubling. Even slight doubling can add value, but what you're really hoping to find is major doubling, where you can clearly see multiple impressions of each digit. Check each number individually. Does the 1 appear doubled or tripled? Does the 9 show clear separation? What about the 6 and the 3? Use strong magnification and good lighting to examine every detail. Next, examine Liberty letter by letter, looking for doubling that's strong enough to see without magnification. This is what separates common coins from treasures. Check "In God We Trust" for any doubling. Study Lincoln's profile extremely carefully, looking for doubling on facial features, hair, beard, or the outline. Even subtle doubling can be valuable if it's in the right location. Now flip to the reverse. In 1963, the reverse showed the Lincoln Memorial, so examine those columns carefully. Look for die cracks, breaks, or chips. Check United States of America, e pluribus unum, and 1 cent for doubling. Beyond double dies, check for off-center strikes by examining the rim. Is the design shifted to one side? Even a modest off-center strike adds value, but extreme off-center strikes of 70% or more are where the really spectacular values come in. Check if the coin is the wrong size by placing it next to other pennies. Is it noticeably smaller or larger? Check the weight if you have a precision scale. Normal 1963 pennies should weigh 3.11 grams because they were made from 95% copper, which is heavier than the post 1982 copper-plated zinc composition. Check the color. 1963 pennies should have a rich, deep copper color, so if the color seems wrong, investigate further. Check the edge. Does it show the copper color all the way through, or is there any indication of a different composition? And finally, examine both sides carefully to ensure the reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial and not some other design. While mule errors are extraordinarily rare, they do exist, and finding one would be like discovering a treasure map to unlimited wealth. The 1960 3D Lincoln penny worth $30 million represents the absolute pinnacle of what error coins can achieve, the ultimate treasure in numismatics, the coin that proves beyond any doubt that even the most common, overlooked pocket change can hide value that most people can barely comprehend. This coin embodies everything that makes error coin collecting so exciting. The thrill of discovery, the joy of finding something rare and valuable that others overlooked, the satisfaction of knowledge paying off with financial rewards, and the endless fascination with objects that shouldn't exist but do. When you hold a valuable error coin in your hand, you're not just holding money, you're holding history, you're holding a story, you're holding a tangible piece of the human experience of making mistakes and creating value from imperfection. And now, as we conclude this incredible journey through 6 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever produced, I want to leave you with some final thoughts and encouragement. Everything we've discussed today, from the 2016 penny worth $10 million to this ultimate 1963D penny worth $30 million, is real. These valuations aren't made up. These errors genuinely exist. These discoveries actually happen, and there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make a life-changing discovery. Right now, at this very moment, there are valuable error pennies in circulation, in collections, in estate sales, in coin jars, waiting to be found by someone with the knowledge and dedication to recognize them. The information I've shared with you in this video has given you the tools you need to start searching intelligently and systematically. Don't just spend your pennies without looking at them. Examine them. Use magnification. Compare coins side by side. Weigh suspicious coins. Research varieties online. Join coin collecting communities. Purchase coin rolls from banks and search through them. Check Coinstar reject trays. Visit estate sales and flea markets. Ask relatives if they have old coin collections. The opportunities are endless, and the potential rewards are absolutely staggering. I encourage you to start today. Go through any coins you have at home. Examine every single penny. Look for the dates we've discussed. Check for errors, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person to discover a $1 million penny hiding in plain sight. Before you go, please subscribe to Error Coins Hunter so you never miss another video about valuable coins and incredible discoveries. Hit that like button if you found this video helpful and informative. Leave a comment below telling me if you're going to start searching for these valuable pennies. I read every comment and love hearing from viewers. And most importantly, Share this video with your friends and family because someone you know might have one of these valuable pennies without even realizing it. Thank you so much for watching this entire video. I know it was long, but I wanted to give you absolutely comprehensive information about each of these incredible coins. Remember, fortune favors the prepared mind, and now your mind is prepared to recognize opportunities that most people would completely overlook. Happy hunting, stay vigilant, examine every penny, and may you be blessed with the discovery of a lifetime. This is Error Coins Hunter signing off, and remember, your fortune might be hiding in your pocket change.